How are you sleeping? I want you to think about that question. Right now, I want you to give yourself a rating, an old school rating. A, B, C, D, F, or maybe incomplete. Sleep is one of the most powerful things you can do for your productivity. Let me explain. When you get enough quality sleep, you have energy. When you have energy, you can be productive. If you're not sleeping properly, it's really difficult to have the energy to be productive. See how this all works out? So I have several strategies for you to get a good night's sleep. Now, I want to preface this whole podcast by telling you I accept no excuses. Zero. If you have little kids, if you have your parents living with you, if you live in a noisy environment, I don't care. There's a way that you can take what I'm going to share with you on this podcast and create a sleep routine that will serve you. You with me so far? So the first step is to take responsibility. It may be a challenge for you to figure out a way to get quality sleep, but don't say, I can't. It won't work for me. No excuses. So here's some ideas. Number one, stop eating 3 hours before you plan on being asleep. 3 hours. And I'd like to add a little bit to that and say, when you have your last meal, make sure it is more on the high protein and the low carb end. So avoid having sweets like ice cream and cupcakes and brownies. You shouldn't be having those anyways, but if you're going to have those earlier in the day. So 3 hours before bed, cut out all eating. 2 hours before bed, I want you to stop drinking water. If you drink another substance, don't drink that as well. You want to give your body less things to filter out, shall we say, during the night. 1 hour before bed, I want you to turn off all electronics, TVs, phones, tablets, gaming systems, anything electronic, cut it out. Now, in addition to these 3 hours before bed, no sleeping, 2 hours before bed, stop drinking water, 1 hour before bed, turning off electronics, I also want you to monitor your stress. Now, you should be doing this throughout the day, but what I want to encourage you to do is as you get closer to bedtime, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, I want you to spend less time in stressful situations. Whether that's your children, whether it's watching the news, stop watching the news, especially at night. Movies or shows that get you excited, scrolling on social media, also known as doomscrolling. What I want you to do instead is start getting your body ready for going to sleep. Now, while I'm talking about sleep, I want to talk to you about the importance of consistent bedtime and consistent wake-up time. As much as possible, go to bed at the same time every night and get up at the same time every morning, 7 days a week, including weekends, holidays, and vacations. Your body loves consistency. Now, you have a different situation than I do. You may have to try to figure out how to make this work, but it's possible. If you have little kids, let me share a little warning with you. If you put your kids to bed at 7 or 8 o'clock, don't stay up until midnight to watch the game or watch television with your partner or your spouse. Go to bed after they go to bed. That way, if they get up early, you've already got a good night's sleep. Now, in the last hour, remember I told you, you've already stopped eating, you've already stopped drinking water, and hopefully you've turned off and stopped using all electronics. Now, what I want you to do is, in that last hour, consider journaling about your day in a print journal. I want you to read a print book, like a physical book. Hopefully you remember what these are. A physical book. Maybe you do some meditation or praying. The whole idea is to get your body to settle down. And when you're tired, turn off the light and go to bed. Now, when you're sleeping, what I encourage you to do is keep your room as dark and as cold as possible. 68 degrees should be a temperature you aim for. I live in Houston, Texas, and when we have cold nights, I turn my air conditioner on to make sure the temperature stays at 67 degrees. I don't want it to warm up. I want it to stay cool, because when your body's cool, it's easier to sleep. Another tip you can use is 1 to 2 hours before you're going to close your eyes to go to sleep, I want you to take a hot shower or a hot bath. This will help purge your body of the toxins. It'll give you a fresh feeling, and it'll raise your core temperature temporarily, and then it'll lower that temperature, which will help you sleep better. Now, if you have trouble going to sleep, don't stay in your bed. Get up, grab your book, grab your journal, until you're tired again. Do not look at your clock. If you want to get up early tomorrow morning and you're having trouble sleeping, one of the biggest things that'll cause you anxiety is when you look at the clock and all of a sudden it's 9:30, 10:30, 11:30, 12:30, and you're going to start freaking out because you're going to wonder, hey, am I ever going to be able to fall asleep? You will fall asleep. Your body will sleep. Trust me, it may not feel like it, but it will fall asleep. Now, you cannot catch up on your sleep, but if you don't sleep well one night, guess what? The next night, go to bed a little earlier, and your body will compensate for it. So I hope this short podcast helped you to get better sleep. It's a process. You will sleep good, then you'll have a poor night of sleep. Don't get frustrated, as I often do. You'll just go through a process. As you're in different stages of your life, you'll sleep well, then you won't sleep well. It's part of the process. Don't give up. Commit to sleeping well and watch what happens to your energy and your productivity. Don't forget to follow the podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to this podcast. If you are watching on Spotify, thank you so much. Do me a quick favor. This will mean the world to me. On Spotify, you can send me a comment. This is a new thing. I'm trying to get people to send me comments on Spotify. It only works on Spotify. So if you're watching this on Apple Podcasts or something like that, it won't work. But if you're on Spotify, send me a comment. I'd love to hear from you. So thank you again for your time and attention. Don't forget, 2 things you got to do before we meet again. Stay productive, stay positive.